From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
This is Ticats This Week. I'm RJ Broadhead. He's Luke Tasker. And how about this, Luke? Our third Ticats This Week, heading into the regular season now, but my third location. I've been moving all around. I was at McMaster, different room in the house. Now I've got like a really expensive setup. If you're not watching, I got a shirt hanging behind me and a Simone Lawrence. So it looks pretty good, though. Hey, for a couple of hooks and 15 minutes work.
Absolutely. You nailed it, man.
So you know why this is significant. Simone Lawrence jersey. He set a record last time the Tiger Cats won in Winnipeg. That was 2019. And he had 17 tackles in that game. He was all over the place. And I talked to Simone a little bit yesterday. That'll be on W6. That'll be released a little bit later on today on Ticats Audio Network. But Simone had 17 tackles to set a CFL record. So if he has one of those games, I think it's going to be pretty positive for the Tiger Cats, don't you?
I think so, and he's it's a new, apart from Simone, who's a staple of the Ticats defense, of course, for the last decade or so. But interesting linebacking core that he's going to be entering this season with, different from the past seasons. But I'm excited to see Thurman and Edwards beside Simone Lawrence as well.
Well, let's get your opinion on that, Luke. It was definitely a strength of the Tiger Cats last year with Santos Knox and Cam Kelly, and of course Simone. So 2/3 of that has been changed, but tough to find a better middle linebacker than Jameer Thurman with his resume. And Chris Edwards, he's an all-star. He's a Grey Cup champ and a guy who makes statements out there, isn't afraid to chat it up a little bit. What do you think of this linebacking core the Tiger Cats have?
I am excited to watch it. It's like the rest of the team this year for the Ticats, where it really feels different, with the exception of Simone, of course, from the teams in the past years here. And you're right, Chris Edwards was a guy who found his name in all sorts of headlines, sometimes good and sometimes not so good, maybe. But I think he's maybe a guy who's going to be loved by the team that he's playing for currently. So, it's going to be excited to see him as a Ticat, and he did have a really great season last year, including, of course, a Grey Cup, and then Jameer Thurman, of course, a Grey Cup champion as well. But, playing on both sides of the borders over the last seasons, and, a threat in the middle there. So I think, although it is new, I think it's the Ticats might be looking at having another one of the best linebacking cores in the league.
Yeah, I know we were both big fans of the defense last season. There were actually quite a few changes, more changes than I expected in the linebacking core, on the line, in the secondary. The secondary was really, really good last year. And when, guys didn't come back, like Keontae Evans and Jamal Roll, retired Cariel Brooks. So there were some openings, and who was going to fill those spots? Well, Javian Elliott has almost 60 games in NFL experience. Kenneth George Jr., he's played in the NFL. He's big corner on that boundary corner. And then the field corner will be Lawrence Woods. And we saw him in the preseason. He looked great there. So, of course, Tunde and Richard Leonard will both be back, which are two veteran guys who've been around a long time. So it's important to have those guys. But looking at it on paper, I mean, I don't want to say it's an upgrade over last year, but it might be. It's pretty good secondary.
It is. I'm excited to watch those guys, and I think they did a great job of replacing what was a pretty talented secondary as well. Jamal Roll was a guy you and I talked about for the past 2 seasons with the Ticats Audio Network, just seemed to be always in perfect position, leading the league in pass breakups at times, interceptions, just a really great player. And it is hard to replace that. Jamal was a really great guy and made a positive impact in the locker room. So these 5 and what they're going to turn into is something we'll start talking about immediately, starting this Friday night against Winnipeg, and to see the impact that they make. You do have sort of the staple back there in Tunde Adeleke, and just how just aware he is, his ability to communicate, and his ability to, I've always said, he gives a quarterback an illusion of having space in the secondary. He really can suffocate out what looked like a gap to throw a ball into, either with a pass breakup or a big hit or an interception. He does a great job of it. I'm excited.
Yeah, he's so good. And with Winnipeg, we know they can throw the ball with Zach Collaros, and Dalton Schoen had a great game. Winnipeg won't have Kenny Lawler, though. Do you think that'll have a significant impact, or is Winnipeg deep enough?
Well, I don't know. It's the first game of the season, so it's kind of hard to, you don't really have no one has a great sense for the identification of an offense, for sort of their MO. But of course, you're missing a great player. It's probably not going to look the way that you intended, but nobody knows really what it's going to be like. And, I was always, as a player, the first game was always sort of funny in a sense. I mean, you've come off 2 weeks only focusing on yourself. You're watching your film, you're watching your practices and the reps you got in preseason. You're trying to perfect and make little tweaks and get yourself into that season, at the top of your sort of technique and your thinking, your thought process of a play. Well, then you get to the regular season and you try to shift gears and go focus on somebody else, but there's nothing to know about them. So it's like, it's kind of, you're in a tweener, spot here where you can't really, there's not a great deal of knowledge on this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. And across the league, it's true, of course. And so there's no great film yet of the cohesive group. But of course, you do have an idea for what Zach Collaros is and what he can do. We've all seen him win 2 of the last 3 Grey Cups and just the career he's had. And so and he does have a couple of weapons still around him. And so, it's going to be a good matchup. I think that kind of across the board, I'd be shocked if many people weren't identifying this game as a tough one for the Ticats.
For sure. Yeah. Winnipeg's expected to be very, very good, but so are the Tiger Cats. Do you like this if you're a member of the Tiger Cats, go into one of the toughest places to play? Let's be honest, Winnipeg's lost twice at home in the regular season in the last 3 seasons. So it's a tough place to win. Tiger Cats had one of those victories in 2019. The other one was last year. Montreal won in overtime, and I think everybody was surprised that Montreal won that game. So Winnipeg was close to being undefeated again. So without a lot of tape to watch or digital tape to watch, do you just go with trends? Is it a good time to play Winnipeg if you're the Tiger Cats?
Yeah, you kind of, I was going to say unfortunate, but maybe it's fortunate. The thing about the first game, you can kind of write the story yourself. I don't mean you and I mean the team, like the players. You can kind of call it what you want and just believe it. And so I think it's somewhat adversity to have to travel out west to start the season off. It was only 7 days ago that they were playing preseason and still in training camp mindset, still at the dorms, not even thinking about, just wanting to make the team and be healthy and blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to switch gears pretty quick and do a west road trip. So there's adversity there. But I think you focus on, if you want to write the story in a positive way, I think the way to do it is just what could be. If you go out there and you beat this team that's been to the last 3 Grey Cups in a row, and you beat them when they're at home and they were supposed to win, so many people wouldn't have been surprised by that. If you're able to do that and jumpstart your season, just electrify your season right off the bat, I mean, wow, what a great thing to work for and to strive for. And sort of the flip side of that is, yeah, it is a challenge, and so you're going to go and you get a win and there's a great reward. And if you can't, well, you're going to pick up the pieces real quick and get back to work in the next place. So I don't know, great opportunity. And I suppose there's a why not to it. Why not go to Winnipeg and start off and just try to be your best out there?
Yeah. I mean, looking at it on paper, Winnipeg obviously is a really good team. I love what I've seen from the Tiger Cats in training camp, in the limited action the starters got in the preseason. Do you think it's a doable thing to get a win in Winnipeg for the Tiger Cats?
Absolutely. And what's just encouraging and exciting is to watch Bo Levi Mitchell and we get a chance to see it.
You're jumping ahead on me, Luke. I was going to get to that, but go for it.
I can see your notes in the bottom of your camera there.
No, it's all right up here, right in the vault.
Bo's impression of Winnipeg is different from Ticat people's impression of Winnipeg, right? Like, he's different than mine, so it was not, he was from the West, for his whole career. And so who knows what that's like, and not that tells the story for the team or anything, but I'm just excited to see, how that goes. And of course, I mean, they've got every chance in the world. I mean, really, I think that the back office, the staff, Coach O and his involvement there and the rest of his staff in piecing together this roster, not only through training camp, but prior to, and their, maneuvers in the off season, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm really excited to watch this crew go do what they can.
I spoke with Bo Levi Mitchell yesterday as well, and have a good portion of that interview on W6 that you can catch on the Ticats Audio Network as well. I asked him what Ticats fans can expect, and he smiled and said a renewed energy. He said, I don't want to say too much, but I'm pretty excited about this season. And you could just see that youthful enthusiasm. He's looked so good in training camp, and the very limited amount we saw him in that first preseason game, just 2 series. But boy, he was spot on. If you just look at the statistics, he was 3 for 6, but I think 3 drops. So the balls were right there on the guy. So he could have been 100%. And you mentioned his play against Winnipeg, most of it coming, well, all of it coming with the Calgary Stampeders. He's got a 12-5 record against Winnipeg in his career, and he lost 2 games to them last year. And I mentioned that to him, and he said, those don't sit well with me. Those 2 losses don't sit well. So he'll probably be a little bit hungry going in there. And being such a tough place to play, following a guy like Bo Levi Mitchell, who's had success there, that has to be another confidence booster for the Tiger Cats, going in with a guy who knows how to win in Winnipeg.
Agreed. I think that it is, and that's my point as well. That I'm just excited to see his entrance into Winnipeg with black and gold, and to see, and we finally will get a chance for him and Tommy Condell to open up the whole playbook and to watch them operate a game together through offensive play calling. Tommy's a passing guy. I mean, Bo's gonna get a chance to air it out. He's gonna get a chance to, with his arm, move the team down the field. With a group of receivers that, RJ, I don't know, it seems like you and I were overall impressed with the group and excited by it in preseason. Yeah,
well, Tim White, I went back and looked, and he's played 2 regular season games against Winnipeg. I think 12 receptions, about 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches on second down. So he's been able to keep drives alive. So he's had success, and we didn't see him a lot in the preseason. But Terry Godwin earned a spot. We're going to see some good Canadian content in Keandre Smith, Chris Osikusi. He looks like Tyler Turnowski's back. He looked terrific in practice yesterday. And Omar Bayless had a good training camp. But Duke Williams is a guy who has steadily, from day one of camp until now, there's been a huge improvement. You could almost see him ramping it up for the regular season. I'm excited to see him. He'll wear number 1 for the Tiger Cats, and he's got the potential to be a number 1 receiver in the CFL. Are you excited to see him?
Yeah, and we don't really know too much, from training camp. I mean, he's getting himself right and ready, and to be frank, didn't see that much time in training camp, just with the decisions that had to be made and the personal things that he had to get right. And I think he's a guy. What my impression of him, even when this would have been 2018 or his first years in Edmonton, there is, a real, people say, this guy's a gamer, and like it, makes good plays. But to me, it's a new person. Like a gamer is like somebody who's a different person all of a sudden on game day. And I could see this. I could see it a little bit about Duke, and I wonder if we'll be surprised at the impact that he has on the game. And you never know. It takes time to make a rhythm and get things everyone on the same page. But I won't be surprised and be encouraging to see if he does sort of stand out.
Yeah, I've said it to you before, Luke, that I'm really excited to see James Butler. The running game last year was frustrating at times for Ticats fans. I'm sure it was for the coaches and the team as well. The offensive line is revamped, but James Butler, one of 3 1,000-yard running backs, rushers last season. Brady Oliveira was another one, so the Ticats defense will have to be good against him. But But just having, the running game's going to be better, and Butler is a danger to catch a ball as well out of the backfield. So I just think he brings such a huge dynamic that the Tiger Cats, for whatever reason last year, just didn't have. Are you in agreement with that?
Kind of like the quarterbacks last year, where there was just back and forth, and there was injuries and good play, bad play, and then the running backs were kind of going through the same thing last year in Hamilton, where there's sort of been a, for if nothing less, a lack of consistency, I guess. And it seems now you've got two guys who are really outstanding players in the league, Bo for a long time, and then Butler, in these last 2 seasons out west. And, I think as a Ticat fan, you're hoping just for some consistency in who's in the spot, and then hopefully some consistency as far as good performance as well. It's part of the theme that the team, it is different. Like they changed the way that the Ticats look in this offseason and training camp.
What do you think of the offensive line?
Well, old big Figgy, Joel Figueroa, and at left tackle, and I'm hoping that we're gonna see a lot of him, and that his health is there. But that guy is a big and dangerous guy. He's the kind of guy a quarterback wants at left tackle. Obviously, Brandon Revenberg, I probably have said, if you counted the times I talk about Brandon Revenberg, it's probably 6 times as many as any other offensive lineman. But he deserves it. I think he's been runner up for outstanding offensive lineman in the league, I think 4 times in his career, which is crazy. I hope that he gets one, and he would certainly deserve that. But he is an outstanding Ticat player, leader on and off the field. He's just outstanding. David Beard going across the board there. Woodmansey and Riley, and Woodmansey is sort of the young guy in that mix there, but kind of a guy who, when you talk to him, he's sort of gives you that classic offensive lineman sense. Just he's trustworthy. He's ready to do what he's told. He's going to be a part of this 5-man wrecking crew. And I don't know. We're not really picking out any bad position groups here, but I got to say that's another group that I'm excited to see as they mesh and work through the season.
Well, I think the reason why we're not is because we're looking at this team on paper, and I don't see any weaknesses. Do you?
Yeah, you know what? The only thing, you think McGriff was somebody we were excited about early in the season, who is unfortunately going to miss this year for his playing, and you kind of thought that was kind of that's maybe a mark against the receiving core, but they've got guys who filled in, and Terry Godwin has stepped up for that, and he's going to be playing that X receiver in Winnipeg, and I was really impressed with him in preseason. So they had sort of that, tragedy is too strong of a word, but that misfortune in their lineup, but they've replaced it so far, and we'll see how that performance goes. Yeah.
Do you want to tell your Joel Figueroa story when you played with him?
Oh, you know what? And if you keep on listening, if you can watch the videos of this Ticats this week, I promise that in a coming week, I'm going to show the prop. I have a show and tell item for Big Fig that is really awesome. I think it was 2015 that I scored a touchdown at Tim Hortons Field on the scoreboard side. It was like a 1 p.m. game. It was a sunny day, and Zach Caleros threw me the ball, and I scored, and it was kind of right at the goal line. I got tackled kind of into the end zone. But I stood up there, my arms in the air or whatever. And if a receiver who weighs 185 pounds and his offensive lineman is standing there, who's going to jump into whose arms in a normal setting?
Yeah, I would think the receiver would jump into the offensive lineman's arms.
Well, me and Big Figs were on different pages there. Or we were apparently on the same page, but it was on the wrong page. And he jumped at me, and I am telling you, my face mask was on his sternum, his massive sternum, and his shoulder pads, and I fell straight back, and my helmet, let's just say, did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it got crushed instead of my skull. And so my face mask was actually crimped shut. Like it actually bent the bars of my face mask and like pried my helmet permanently open. Like it wasn't touching my head because it like got smashed. And so I still have the face mask. There's a funny picture somewhere that I'm trying to find of Zach saying, you know, congratulating me on the touchdown and give me a hug. And my face mask is all like, you know, ridiculous. And I held the field goal or the extra point with my face mask all messed up. But I will, if you listeners can tune in to the Ticats this week in the coming weeks, and you can watch it on the platform visually, I will have the face mask for you.
Now, was that a legal helmet to hold for the convert after?
I don't know. That's true. Probably not, actually. And Drew very quickly after that, you know, like took it off, undid it. My helmet went back to normal shape, and they put another face mask on there. But it's a good one.
So Joel Figueroa listed at 6'6", 320. So you got to be able to catch those guys, Luke.
Full speed running, just jumping, spread eagle as I'm standing in the end zone.
That's a great story. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that picture of the helmet. It must be
it's great.
Glad you're okay, and that's why you wear helmets for the celebration after the touchdown.
Isn't that crazy that it didn't hurt? That really speaks to equipment. That my helmet got almost snapped in two, and it did not hurt.
If it did snap, that would have hurt.
That would have hurt.
A couple of things. We'll get to the special teams, but we skipped over the defensive line, and there's some changes there. Malik Carney, he'll wear number 5 this year. Said he just wanted to go with the single digit. He's the sacks leader from last year at 7 sacks, so he'll be building on that. Casey Sales, be exciting to see him. He's of course a former Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Mo Diallo, we've heard a lot about him for a couple of years now. Just a powerhouse, and he's going to get an opportunity. Ted Laurent will mix there in the middle as well, and Jagera Davis will be on the end. It'll be great to see JG back in there. He's doing his thing in training camp and practice, and get him in a game. And I'm looking forward to calling a couple Jagera Davis sacks.
Oh, I can't wait. One of the best calls. You talk about a game or two. That's a guy who's a different person on game day. It's not even the same. You're not looking at the same football player.
Yeah, he's a bit of a gentle giant during the week, but that changes, does it?
Oh, it does. Oh, my heavens. Does it ever? He's vicious. I mean, we've seen him make amazing plays. Obviously, sack after sack. He's a very shifty defensive end, but we'll see him do amazing things, other open field tackles, and we saw him in coverage at times in strange lineups, and he's quite the player.
So a couple of changes on that defensive line. Are you comfortable with how that looks going into this game against Winnipeg?
Yeah, I'm excited to see these guys. And you mentioned Mo Diallo, and you talked to the strength coaches for the Ticats there, and he is one of the absolute just natural strongest guys that they've seen. I mean, and you can you walk past him and it's like, well, yeah, that's he spent a lot of time in the weight room, but also he's got a lot of that by himself. And so when you combine those two things, he's a different kind of specimen. Would love to see some good play from him this year.
Yeah, well, he's going to get an opportunity, and of course, Winnipeg, they've got a great offensive line, but trying to get to Caleros and stopping the run, 2 big keys to success. Seth Small made it. We didn't see him in training camp. He just had a baby, made it to camp. He was the first player on the field on Monday for day 1 of practice leading into this game, and smile on his face. He looked great this past week, and he was so good last year. Does it make a huge difference for a kicker, do you think, missing all of training camp?
No, I don't think for Seth. No, it's the same thing that they will practice on their own. They just polish up a little timing, snap, hold, kick, and I would say that they're pretty good to go. It's one of those positions that can plug in pretty quickly. I think that it makes a difference for the Ticats, I think. I mean, he's a positive energy and just yes, he kicked great last year, but as far as just being around the team, and I mean, he's a net positive influence, at least in the special teams group, but in the locker room as well. I think the Ticats have, come out positive for being able to bring him back.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't get a ton of NFL attention. If he has a season like he did last season, that will probably change going into next year, but we'll worry about that when that comes around. I had a chance to talk to Bailey Flint, and on the Ticats Audio Network, check it out on Run It Back. Real interesting philosophy. I've learned a ton more about punting just by talking to him. He was second overall global pick in 2022. Went into theater and explored some U.S. options, some NFL options, but now he's with the Tiger Cats, and he considers himself a get-out-of-jail-free card for the quarterback. So the quarterback can go out and take some risks, and he's big into field position. I know you are too, Luke. We talk about it all the time, that field position battle will win a lot of football games, and he is fully aware of it and, tries to make the football bounce the right way. You can control it to a certain extent, but there's no 100% controlling it on a punt. But it's just fascinating to hear his philosophy, how I can't score touchdowns, I can't play on first or second down, but I can put the defense and hopefully down the road the offense in a pretty good spot in the field. So that field position battle is so important. And you've been around a lot of punters. I'm sure they're all aware of it, but he really seems to have a philosophy going in.
I agree with you. I loved how he talked about that. And your Run It Back this week was really, that was a fun interview with him especially. I mean, he kind of gives a lot of color to this Australian punting trend that we're seeing and the reasons for that. And listeners should go hear it if you haven't had a chance to yet. It's a great interview, but you're so right, because you can get trapped as a punter. I mean, as a special teams coach, as a football, you can get trapped in thinking, oh, what a great, huge punt that was. So high, just a great, beautiful looking ball flight kind of, that you have to combine the shape and the direction and the hang time of a punt with the special teams play call, with the strategy, with the coverage unit and what they are expecting and where they need you to put that ball. Jeff Reinbold is huge on placement of a punt. Like he wants his guys to be able to put it outside the numbers or on the numbers and take away a large percentage of the field for the return man, and also take away a large percentage of the field for your own coverage unit having to spread a net. A middle of the field punt is really dangerous, especially when it's miskicked and your unit doesn't know that's where it's going, right?
Yes.
In the CFL, and RJ, I know I've already said this before on our podcast, so I'm sorry. But we always go to commercial after punts, and it just kills me because it's one of the best parts about the CFL. Is the punting game. It's more impactful here than it is anywhere else because of the rules, because of the halo, because of the width of the field. Every punt gets returned. There's onside. So it's just so crucial, and he does have a mind for it. He's thinking that way, and you could tell in your interview with him that he kind of understands. He's not just an artist out there trying to make a ball look great in the air. He is a player making a strategic move with his foot, and it's an interesting part of our sport. But he should be careful because, yes, he's not going to normally score touchdowns or throw touchdowns, but Jeff Reinbold, you don't know. You never know. Mr. Flint, you may just have an opportunity to do some of those things, and there's interesting nuances of the game that can bring some tricks in. So fun. I thought he was. I'm excited to see how he is able to do what he is talking about.
Yeah, well, he did tell me he has the best rushing average of anybody in University of Toledo history. He averaged 26 yards rushing. He had one carry, so he ran it one. But he said he'd always remind his coaches of that. So he feels like he can jump into that aspect. So that's something we'll talk about during the broadcast. Again, kickoff 8:30 Eastern time. You can listen on the Ticats Audio Network. And got to talk about Lawrence Woods. He's doing double duty on the field corner, which is a lot of running over there a lot of times, and returning kicks, a lot of running. We didn't see him return kicks in the preseason. Is there any reason to believe he won't be as effective as he was last year?
No, in the early games of the season, you do kind of have to learn again, or you're in shape. You're coming to camp in shape, but you got to learn again that how to get through four quarters. And I oftentimes found I was so exhausted in the first quarter of a game, actually. I don't know what it is. Like your nerves are sort of just, your central nervous system just has to get really fired up. And so it is a lot. I mean, those DBs have to run and they got to be physical on defense and adjust and be quick. And then to go out there and potentially, every special teams play effectively ends in a big contact usually. So it's a lot of responsibility to do both of those. And so maybe you'll see some exhaustion, or maybe you'll see some substitution, especially in the return game if needed. But as the season goes on, I think he's a guy that can handle the workload and could produce in both of those units, special teams and defense. Defensively in the preseason, I was impressed with him. I thought he had some good plays from corner.
And just finally, Luke, you had a chance to talk to Coach O on the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. You can listen to that on the Ticats Audio Network if you haven't caught it yet. I think it comes out on Tuesdays. But anything stand out to you in your chat with O? Well,
consistency from that guy. I mean, he's not. There's nothing new about a first game of a season. There's a lot that he has to learn about his own team still too, though. There's not just like you don't have much to prep against the opponent. There's not film out there yet for live regular season reps. Well, for your own team too, there's a lot to learn. But he expects his guys to go out there and to win and to be ready to go, even though it's the first game.
Well, finally, we're here. It takes a while, and then it comes really quick. And talk about the long season. A few players and coaches have talked about that, but it's long, but it goes by quick. So game one in Winnipeg, let's just get your final thoughts. And it's so important, before I deliver this to you, Luke, that the Tiger Cats avoid the start they had last year. That 0-4 start, and they just never seemed to get grounded after that. A win in Winnipeg, tough team, get off to a good start, like that would just be a real exclamation point to what is expected to be a good, if not great, season for the Tiger Cats.
Well, if you go out there and win in Winnipeg week one, the entire country is going to be saying these guys are Grey Cup bound, right? Like that's going to happen immediately if you go and do that. And I go back to, not that that's the point, of course, and not that that's true either, but it is a lot easier when you're not 0-4 to be, once you get to October, and these early wins, end up just making things a little bit more comfortable late in that season. And yeah, we like to say that the season doesn't start till Labor Day. And in a sense, sort of the picture doesn't start to form until Labor Day, but all the games count. And so a game out west to start, no reason to misunderstand it. It is a tough game. It's a tough start, and Winnipeg's a good team. But boy, what a chance, what an opportunity! Because if you're able to go out there, if we can see Bo Levi Mitchell play well, and this new talented defense get some stops against Zach Collaros' offense, man, what an opportunity! And you're really going to electrify this team early on.
Well, in my opinion, Luke, this is going to be the matchup of the two teams that'll win each division. I think Winnipeg wins the West, and I think the Ticats win the East. What do you think?
You heard it here. You heard it here first. We'll play it back in November.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Hey, I'm confident with it right now before any games are played, but it's going to be a terrific matchup, a great way to start the season. Winnipeg will find out where they're at. The Tiger Cats will find out where they're at. So can't wait to see you on Friday and call this game, Luke.
Good deal. Thanks, RJ. Looking forward to it.
So a big day on Friday, of course, Ticats game day with Mike Daly and Courtney Stephen. They will get you all up to date in their thoughts on this game. And then the pregame show with Andy Fantus and Bubba O'Neill is at 7:30 Eastern Time. Luke and I will have the call of the game at 8:30 Eastern Time. Tiger Cats kick off the season, game one, on the road in Winnipeg. We'll chat to you during the game.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.